Hi, I'm Jessica,
And I'm Tracy.
and this is She's on Top, the place where we celebrate and elevate women.
And today we are thrilled to be talking to the very funny and inspiring Lynn Ruth Miller.
Lynn is an 86-year-old stand-up comedian who didn't even start her career until she was in her 70s.
But before we talk to Lynn, we wanted to talk to you about becoming part of our amazing community of fantastic women.
We recently launched a membership program, and this is for women who, like us, believe in celebrating and elevating each other and literally collaborating and doing whatever they can so that all our businesses can rise at the same time.
We've created 4 different levels of membership, so there's a place for everyone. And we put a link below, so go to the link, it will take you to our website, and there you can find all the details.
And now we'd like you to meet Lynn Ruth Miller.
I'm Lynn Ruth Miller, and something wonderful happens to me every morning. I wake up. I'm 84 years old, and I started thinking about what I want to be when I come back.
Hi, Lynn. Thank you so much for speaking with us today.
It's my pleasure. I'm so glad to be with you.
And you were just telling us before, you've got a pretty significant birthday coming up. You're 3 days away from
87.
Woo! That's amazing.
I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. Every time I wake up in the morning, I think, what a surprise. So I'm still doing it. Yeah.
So when did you start doing stand-up? Like, how long have you been doing it for?
I've been doing it. Well, now it's 17 years, isn't it? Yeah, I've been saying 16, but now it's 17. I started when I was 70 because I'm a journalist. And I wanted to write a story about a comedy college. But the thing that I finally dawned on me, I didn't realize that comedy was considered a career. And this was in 2003. And I didn't realize that comedy, I didn't have a television set. I was a journalist, and I was doing interviewing for an arts show and a painting show. So that's why I thought a comedy college was utterly ridiculous. I'd never heard of anything so stupid. And I thought, this will make a good story, and then I'll get into the New York Times. I didn't get into the New York Times, but I did get on stage, and I've never left the stage since. That's what happened.
That's brilliant. So what gave you the courage, like later in life, to start a new career?
Well, I think when you say that, the more you live, the less inconsequential things make you nervous. Just about everything in the world, you've met just about every glass wall and every hurdle that you're going to meet. It just didn't occur to me to be afraid.
How is it I can imagine at any level. I used to do stand-up in my 20s, but in my 20s. But how is it? How are you finding it now? I haven't done it for years. How is it as a woman in comedy?
Well, what I'm finding is sadly, the preconceived notions are still there. I'll do a gig where I'll be the only woman, and remember, I'm a novelty. Mm-hmm. Sadly, I think due to the loss of estrogen, they don't really consider me a woman. It's that funny old lady, that it. But women are not on the bill. And if there is one, it's either a woman that has a lot of money, so she bought her way in, or it's a woman that is exceptionally beautiful and awful. But I'm not seeing the really sharp. We have some really sharp comedians that are not particularly affluent and are very funny, but they would never be a centerfold, and they're so funny. And I have not seen them up at the top, which is where they should be.
Right. Yeah, because it's funny because you have seen, like, you look at not Rosie O'Donnell. Is that not Rosie O'Donnell broke through? You look at, Roseanne, who had her own show. Has that changed? Because they were not beautiful women. They broke through, like, especially somebody like, Roseanne broke through by being a kind of like housewife and kind of a little, to that whole suburban audience. Do you feel that that's changed?
What Phyllis Diller did. I'm finding the kind of comedy is changing. When I started, and I still do this. And I think probably when you were doing it, you needed to get something like 15 laughs a minute or something like that. And you said set up, punch, ha ha ha. I'm not hearing that much of it anymore. Now it could be because I'm in London, or it could be because I'm deaf. But whatever it is, I'm not hearing it. I'm seeing more things about themselves, much more things about themselves. I mean, when I started, I didn't have the faintest notion of talking about me. I talked about things that made you laugh. I remember my first joke was, I'm the only comedian that could really die on stage. That was one of the, we did that. But now I'm noting that the comedians talk about their lives. They talk about their sex lives, which, my generation didn't talk about it. It was pretty miserable anyhow, but we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about how we didn't love it, but we just did it. And that's because you did. That's another story. But anyway, we didn't talk about that. These girls are talking about, and one of the burlesque girls has people do whole things about menopause and about menstruation. Those were two words that were not even said when I was young. And now they're talking about how this is all part of being who we are. And people who are trans don't menstruate, so they can't be women and all that. Never. It's more about, they're more reality shows than they are funny jokes. This is a new world. I was taught to be what was expected of me. And thank goodness we're now saying, no, don't do what's expected, because what's an expectation? Just somebody else's vision. What's your vision?
Absolutely. So what have you learned about yourself doing stand-up? Like you said that before you lied, you didn't really say the real things. Now you're being more honest. So have you learned certain things about yourself from doing stand-up?
Yes. When I started doing comedy, there was I'm trying to think of his last name. His name is John. And he came to my comedy show and I thought I was great. And he said to me, but there was nothing about you. I said, well, I don't think I'm really that funny. I make jokes about old ladies. What was it? I was a centerfold for Playboy in the gadget section, that kind of thing. I did, yeah. That kind of thing. But he said, no, what really about you? And so now I do a whole segment, which is not too clean. And I was on a thing today for mental health. And they said, do some jokes and you've got this, have this happen. You don't realize where you're going with it. So I thought, okay, I'll tell them how it feels to be 87. And I mean, I talk about the fact, I would say I'm living the dream. I always dreamed of the day when my legs would have vivid splotches of color so they look like tubular Kandinsky paintings. Now that's okay. But then the next one starting to get a little for the mental health. I dreamed of the day when I could unhook my bra and my breasts would smack against my knees. And I dreamed of the moment when I would have more hair on my chin than my foo-foo. And already I've just been leaped out of the whole thing. And I'm thinking, I didn't realize that when I started, it sounded okay. But then I was going into this. This is, but the thing is, these are true.
You find like when you talk from your authentic voice, because this is what we talk a lot, with the women in our groups, like when you sort of talked about from a personal space, did you find you got a better reaction?
I find I get a different reaction. I'm finding people really connecting with me because they've got these problems too. And that's the secret. It isn't because I'm old, although it is, but it isn't that these things are happening. They have the same uncertainties. And because they're real, instead of what I made up, I'm beginning to remember some of the old jokes I did. The one was, I've become a senior model. I have beautiful legs, so a lot of senior facilities have hired me to open them up all over the country. I love that one. But now I don't do jokes I know it's pretty funny, but I don't do jokes like that because it's not true. No senior facility has hired me to open them up all over the country. As a matter of fact, they've rejected me when I offered, so I haven't had that problem.
What advice would you give to people who want to start a career when they're older? I mean, Jess and I are in our 50s, and we started She's on Top in our 50s. But a lot of people, a lot of women especially, are nervous. They feel they can't compete with younger women. So what advice would you give to women who want to start a career after their children have grown up?
It has nothing to do with age. It has something to do with age because age is who you are. But you take whatever you want to do, anything. If you want to be a tour guide, if you want to start a new business, it has nothing to do with your age. What it has to do with your persona. And the most important thing, Tracy, the most important thing you've got is yourself, is to know yourself, to try to be yourself. And once you're in possession of that, those uncertainties go away, because what you're thinking is, I've got to master these things to do that. That's the best way I can put it to you. These are the steps I've got to take. You don't think, oh, when I take that step, everyone's going to say she's too old or she doesn't have the right background. I have one of the most intelligent women that I know who's a financial advisor, and she's wonderful. And one of her big hang up is that she didn't go to university. Well, she didn't need to. She figured it out. But she thinks you've got to have those other steps. You don't. It makes no difference. You have to know what you're after, know what it demands, and figure out what it takes.
Well, thank you so much. This has been an incredible honor and a pleasure, and we would love to have you back again sometime.
I would love to be back. You're a pleasure to talk to. It's very wonderful to speak to women that have vision.
Well, thank you so much. We hope to see you soon. Thanks, Lynn.
Bye for now.
Bye.